the beautiful Missouri Ozarks. Greetings and welcome to the Gilbert House Fellowship for Sunday, May 10th, 2026. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Mm-hmm. We pray that if your mother is still on this earth, that you get to spend some time with her. And if you are a mother, happy Mother's Day to you. We're going to go visit your mom today.
Yes, and looking forward to that. This was kind of a stressful week for Mom. She wound up hospitalized for a couple of days. At first, wasn't quite sure what it was about because she had been complaining of chest pain, but apparently
it's difficult for your mother to understand the source of pain.
Yes.
She's end-stage Alzheimer's,
right.
And all she knew is that she hurt.
Right.
And so when she was answering yes to every question.
Yeah.
Turned out she had a UTI.
Yeah, and thankfully, that was relatively easily addressed. They did a culture, found out what specific bacterium was involved. They got a targeted antibiotic rather than just hitting it with a wide spectrum.
It's so much better.
Spectrum.
Those broad spectrums can sometimes have pretty harsh side effects.
Right. So this is under control. She's doing very well. And again, as with my hospitalization 2 months ago for pneumonia, the care received at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, as busy as those doctors have to be, the attending physician called me 3 times during Mom's stay to update me and just let me know what was going on with her. And the nurse, God bless her, they're not as familiar with Mom's condition as they are at the nursing home.
And they're not specialized for Alzheimer's care. Right.
So she, put Mom on the speakerphone and, communicated with Mom and Mom did as best as she could. So, but Mom is still with us.
She's tough.
She is tough. She actually caught pneumonia at about the same time I did back in February, and she actually recovered much more quickly. They didn't even have to take her to the hospital.
I know.
For that.
She's going on 90 years old.
Yeah, and they did some breathing treatments, nebulizer to keep her lungs cleared, but they didn't have to do anything else really. I mean, other than antibiotics. Mm-hmm. So she is tough. So Mom is still there. We'll go out and see her today, and got word yesterday that a cousin of mine, her brother's youngest son, who
is a couple of years younger than you are.
A couple of years younger than me. Sandy, my sister, and I used to, when we would go to visit Uncle Harley and Aunt Phyllis, Christopher was closest in age to Sandy, but of my cousins, he was my favorite one because the older brothers were a little more rough and tumble than I was. Oh. I was kind of the bookish nerd, and so Garrett, Craig, and Colin were a little more rough and tumble than I liked when I was playing at that age. So anyway, he's going to be making a road trip, and will be coming out to see us probably next weekend. So may get a chance to take him out to see Mom, probably for the first time. And my goodness, I can't remember the last time Christopher would have seen my mother. And I think it's been a good 40 years since I've seen him.
I'm really glad that he's stopping out here to visit, especially wanting to go over and see his Aunt Shirley, your mother.
He made
it's going to be difficult. She won't necessarily know him, but you said on the phone he sounded just like your mom's brother.
Yeah,
so she may actually hear his voice.
Yeah.
And have memories triggered. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. So
your symbiote is making noises.
Just had breakfast. Sharon just made me a wonderful spinach, cheese,
peppers and
onions omelet, and so my stomach is registering its appreciation. So if you hear growling noises because the wireless mic is maybe 6 inches above, that's what's going on.
That's how it is.
Yeah. So and I hadn't seen Uncle Harley probably in 40 years. But his, my cousin's voice just triggered that memory. It's like, that's Uncle Harley. So family is important, and sadly, because of the culture and the way we live these days, where careers take us all over the country, and we don't grow up around family like previous generations had. We kind of lose that connection. So it was really wonderful to hear from him.
I think that's so tragic. And the friends that we have made in Israel, family is so incredibly important.
Yeah.
And unlike here, where oftentimes the families will maybe get together, we used to get together as a family, my family.
Yeah.
Every Sunday we would visit all of the aunts and uncles and the cousins. We'd all get together in one house. And we'd have fried chicken and mashed potatoes, and all the kids would help to do stuff, and we'd go play to get out of their way eventually. And I miss that idea. Mm-hmm. But in Israel, they still do it.
They do it
every Shabbat.
I think in part because of their faith, but also because of the pressure that Israel is under, especially since October 7th, but even going back to 1948.
Yeah.
Israel has always lived with existential threats to its existence right on its borders. And we Americans don't have any clue, any concept of how small that country is. You can drive one end of Israel to the other in 5 hours. Mm-hmm. For us, that's a day trip. I mean, okay, we're going to go from St. Louis to Chicago. Or
from here to St. Louis.
From here to St. Louis, that's almost the same distance. And just on the other side of that 5-hour trip, you've got a country with a history of wanting to lob rockets and mortars at your community. Building codes in Israel, especially in the north and down around the Gaza envelope, the building codes require new home construction to include a bomb shelter. Imagine that if that were the case here in the United States. Like if you were in Brownsville or El Paso, and because some narco-terrorist group on the other side of the border were throwing rockets at your town every couple of days.
100 years ago or so, maybe a little more than that, it was kind of that way along the Texas border, that you would have...
Yeah, Pancho Villa.
Yes, exactly. You would have raiders that would come across, and so you would have to have the Texas Rangers who would try to keep that down, but you had to be ready at any point to defend yourselves.
Yeah, and you go back even further, go back a couple hundred years. My father's mother's family, surnamed Bailey, got into the country late 17th century, and they were early settlers along the Ohio River Valley. So some of the very first settlers in what is now Ohio. You had to carry your rifle and a tomahawk, because the settlers learned early on how handy a tomahawk was when you went out to the barn to check on your animals, because you never knew.
What animal or if the natives there, because the natives weren't very happy that you were there. So we have sort of lost that, and because life is so precious and we feel so safe, it's like, I don't need to see him this weekend. I can go see him next weekend or next month or next year or whenever. And in Israel, that's not the case. So, and it didn't used to be the case here in the United States. So, long story to say. Happy to see my cousin next weekend, and glad we're going to go see Mom today. And if Dad were here, he would say, as Proverbs 31:29 reads, "Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all." Amen.
And I say that to you.
Oh, honey.
On this day.
Thank you. I am honored to be your wife.
Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised.
Well, you are an incredible husband. I am blessed. And I know many of you out there are also blessed. And if you are on your own today, just understand that your shepherd is there with you.
Yes.
No matter what. And he will honor you. He will meet all of your needs. You are never, ever alone. And speaking of family things, we will give you an OG report and a report on what's going on with our house sale. We do have a contract on it. We'll tell you all about that later. God is good.
Yes, amen.
And that is why we need to open with a word of prayer.
Amen. Father, we humbly come before you this day in awe of your goodness, your majesty, your glory, and your design for the family. We know we have fallen short as fathers, mothers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. But Lord, as we strive to live according to your ideal, the closer we get to that, Father, the more we see the wisdom of your divinely ordered plan for the family. May we, as husbands, honor our wives as you have commanded us to love our wives in Ephesians 5. May we, as sons and daughters, honor our mothers on this day and every day as they have worked to raise us and train us up in the way we should go. So, Father, as we come before you, may we keep those things in mind. We pray for wisdom and discernment as we study your word, that we would learn that which you would have us know, and that following our study, that we would add nothing to your word, take nothing away from it. Father, may we see only that which you inspired your apostles and prophets to write. May we keep their worldview in mind to better understand your words to us. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We are so glad you've joined us today.
Oh, yeah. The Oriole outside, obviously contributing a few words as well.
Well, yeah, it almost sounded like there must be two of them out there because generally that's their angry talk.
Yes.
That's smack talk.
Angry birds talk. Get off the jelly. Get off the orange.
You know, they do have that angry bird cardinal sort of look. When they look right at you, it's like, get away from me. It's almost like James Cagney.
Yeah. This orange is mine, see? Well, that's more Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah, kind of.
Top of the world, Ma. Top of the orange peel, Ma.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Yeah, just what an amazing creation. Got an Oriole out there dipping into the grape jelly.
Yeah, we need to pick up some oranges on the way home. They've eaten through our oranges, so now it's just grape jelly.
Maybe that was the words they were telling us. Hey, we're running out of oranges here. I mean, the grape jelly's fine, but...
Our feathers are orange.
Yeah, we need some orange.
Yeah.
All right, we're back in the book of Isaiah because as we expected last week, we took longer in Isaiah chapter 10 than I thought when originally scheduling out these verses, or the reading schedule, I should say, because there was a lot of stuff in Isaiah 10, and guess what? There's a lot of stuff in Isaiah 11 too. We'll call this the Mandela chapter, as you'll find out as we get to it. But some really great stuff
just
here.
So you know, we don't believe in that.
No,
we're saying
Mandela Effect, not a thing. Isaiah 11, beginning of verse 1, there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit. This is prophetic. This is messianic. The word branch there is netzer, and that has there are a couple of things in that we need to communicate. First of all, netzer later used as a...
pejorative. As smack talk. Netzer as in dead God. Is that what you're talking about?
That was...
Sorry.
I was going to do that one next.
Oh,
but
sorry.
Yes, but you're right.
I jumped right ahead.
But yes, in Isaiah 14... we get to the reference to a dead branch.
Or loathed branch.
Yeah, loathed branch, right. And in that context, netzer is actually a homonym for an Egyptian word meaning dead god or divinized dead god. It's used to describe the god Osiris because he's the god of the underworld. That's why Osiris is always depicted with green skin.
Exactly, and it's probably why the horse ridden by Thanatos is sort of a sickly green color.
Yes.
It's that idea of coming from the realm of the dead. and representing death himself.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the verse in Isaiah 14, so it's a spoiler, so if you want to look ahead, Isaiah 14:19, you are cast out away from your grave like a loathed branch. Mm-hmm. And I wrote about that quite a bit in the Second Coming of Saturn, because my argument there was that this was a reference to that same entity, and Osiris is probably the equivalent of this entity, although I didn't really go into Osiris much in the book.
I think he probably is, yeah.
But the god who had been condemned to the underworld, Saturn, Kronos, Molech, El of the Canaanites, Dagon of the Philistines, Ashur of the Assyrians, etc., which is why we spent so much time on Ashur last week, mm-hmm. who, under all of these names, same entity, would be identified as Shemiyaza, who was the leader of the rebellion in Genesis 6, verses 1 through 4. In other words, the sons of God who saw that the daughters of men were fair, according to Peter, now confined in Tartarus. So the loathed branch is based on the assumption that Netzer comes from Hebrew, but again, it sounds exactly like the Egyptian word.
Isaiah does that, a lot of wordplay like that.
Yes. And there's another place where we will get to that, and I forget what chapter it's in, but there's another homonym there that is probably an Egyptian, Ovoth.
Yes.
Ovoth, which in Hebrew means spirits of the dead, but in Egyptian refers to a little statue that like the teraphim, mm-hmm. representing your dead ancestors.
Yeah.
So why would Isaiah be borrowing from Egyptian? During the time of Isaiah and King Hezekiah, the Assyrians were growing in power. And in fact, Hezekiah gets besieged in Jerusalem by the Assyrians. So as Hezekiah was turning to the Egyptians for a military and political alliance. Mm-hmm. They found scarabs with from the time of Hezekiah at Jerusalem as part of the dump pile from the illegal excavations under the Temple Mount done by the Arabs.
I remember that so well. In fact, you and I talked about that on PID Radio when we still lived in Manchester.
Mm-hmm. And that was, surprised some folks. It's like, but again, Hezekiah trying to buddy up to the Egyptians rather than trusting completely in the Lord to protect Israel from the Assyrians. So anyway, that's one aspect of that word Netzer, but it also refers to Nazareth, which later, when Jesus is referred to a Nazarene, it is in reference to Isaiah's promise of a Netzer from the roots, from the stump of Jesse, mm-hmm. coming that will bear fruit.
No, he was not a Nazarite.
No.
That's been a misunderstanding throughout the years.
Yeah, Nazarene,
which is why you see him
Nazarite.
Pictured with long hair.
Yeah.
And he may have had long hair, but that wouldn't have been why.
Yeah, back in the day,
Yeah.
barbering was a little more difficult.
Truly.
Scissors hadn't been invented yet, I don't think.
Well, there may have been. The Romans during the first century had scissors. They looked nothing like the ones we use now. But yes, you could cut your hair with it. It's just they were pretty dull.
Yeah.
It was not a great haircut.
Yeah. You probably would want to do it with a straight edge.
Yeah, they probably used knives.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, there was that wordplay there between Netzer and Nazarene. And that was, when we get into our New Testament study, eventually, a couple of years from now, we'll get back to that and refer back to this. But Isaiah, known for his love of wordplay. Okay, verse 2. And we'll have to stop after this again because there's some connections. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge, and the fear of Yahweh. Now, if you count those spirits, Spirit of Yahweh, Spirit of wisdom, Spirit of understanding, Spirit of counsel, Spirit of might, Spirit of knowledge, and Spirit of the fear of Yahweh. Mm-hmm. That's 7 spirits.
7 spirits before the throne.
7 spirits before the throne, which you see in Revelation 1, verse 4. John to the 7 churches that are in Asia, Grace to you and peace from him who is and who was and who is to come, Jesus obviously, and from the 7 spirits who are before his throne. And from Jesus Christ, the faithful witness, the firstborn of the dead, and the ruler of kings on earth. So he's actually connecting all of these things, but they're actually all one and the same. Him who is and who was, who is to come. Well, yeah, that's Jesus. You also see in Revelation 3, verse 1, and to the angel of the church in Sardis write the words of him who has the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. And then in Revelation 4, verse 5, from the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder, and before the throne were burning 7 torches of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God.
So what are the 7 stars, I wonder?
That's a really good question.
Stars are often representative of angels or
Yes.
members of the heavenly host. Also, there are 7
7
thunders.
archangels.
7 thunders.
7 thunders, yeah. And then we may see another reference to this again in Revelation 5, verse 6. And between the throne and the 4 living creatures, and among the elders, I saw a lamb standing, capital L, lamb, because it's Jesus, as though it had been slain with 7 horns and with 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. So these 7 spirits are, how can they be before the throne if he's the one who's on the throne?
Because he's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yes, exactly. So again, verse 2, and the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, or Spirit of the Lord if you prefer. But again, when we see the all caps L-O-R-D or all caps G-O-D in the Old Testament, that is the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh. The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge, and the fear of Yahweh. Again, those are the 7 spirits.
In the Septuagint, it's really close, but it's just a slight difference. Spirit of God shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge and godliness shall fear him. Shall fear. Come in again. And godliness shall fill him, the Spirit of the fear of God. So it adds just a little bit of a little bit more. And he shall not judge according to appearance, nor reprove according to report, but, and then it goes into verse 4.
So verse 3 now, and his delight shall be in the fear of Yahweh. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. Contrary to the condemnation or the accusations leveled against the other gods, small g gods, in Psalm 82.
Did you read the entire verse 4?
No, I haven't gotten to 4 yet.
Okay, sorry. Part of what you just read is in my verse 4.
No, I'm sorry. I did read the first half of verse 4.
Okay.
And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked.
Okay, let me read 3 and 4 in the Septuagint. The Spirit of the fear, and godliness shall fill him. That's the end of verse 2. The Spirit of the fear of God. He shall not judge according to appearance, nor reprove according to report, but he shall judge the cause of the lowly, and shall reprove the lowly of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the word of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he destroy the ungodly one.
Oh, ungodly one.
Ungodly one.
Well,
Not the ungodly, but the ungodly one. Now, one isn't capitalized, but you have to wonder, is this a reminder that eventually the leader of everything is going to be taken out?
well, see, the Lexham English Septuagint, which is the more modern translation, renders it with the breath through his lips. He will destroy ungodly things. They chose things instead of one.
Well, one can go either way.
Yeah. The question is whether the definite article "the" is in the original Greek.
Well, we can find
Greek,
that.
The Greek translation.
It would be ho. You can find it in the original Greek.
Yeah.
I can get Blue Letter Bible to come up and be nice.
Here, let me bring this up here because I've got Logos on this machine over here, and I can actually have it display the interlinear for Isaiah 11 verse 4. And that is a key thing because we've discovered in the Hebrew the lack of the definite article can sometimes change the entire sense of a verse. Let me bring this up here. Thankfully, I had it almost on that.
Yeah, I love Blue Letter Bible because they have the Septuagint in the original Greek and English over there, but they have a little donation reminder that completely obscures any possibility of getting to the actual Bible.
It is not. The definite article "the" is not in the Greek.
Ah.
So now, understanding that the Septuagint translation is the translation that was produced by Jewish religious scholars about 200 BC. So it's not the original text. They were translating from an older Hebrew text than the one used to create our modern English Bibles.
Yeah, we no longer know what the text was.
Right.
There are no extant copies of it.
Yeah. But what the Septuagint does is it helps us to understand how the Jewish religious scholars in the Second Temple period, which would include up to and through the time of the apostles, how they understood the Hebrew text. And so they didn't see a definite article "the," but for whatever reason, when Lancelot Brenton translated it in the 19th century from Greek into English, he chose the ungodly one. Now he may
still up there. Can't get it to go away.
Wow.
I know.
That's too bad because the Blue Letter Bible is a very useful tool.
I have loved that as a resource.
Yeah.
They need to, if they can just make, because I'm reading it on my phone, and
yeah.
They need to have a better mobile version.
And the reason Sharon does that is so that we can do this study using the tools that might be available to you and to see how this might be affecting your ability to follow what we're doing.
Well, exactly. There are tools that we have paid for.
Right.
But I like to use tools that anybody can use for free.
Right. Like the Logos software, we pay a monthly subscription to that now. And it gives us access to a lot of different things. Things that you may never, ever look at. Like, for example, a few months ago with the my friends on the Iron and Myth podcast, we did a study or a discussion of the Sibylline oracles. And I was able to read the Sibylline oracles, which is a Jewish text in the Christian era, 2nd century AD, some of them a little earlier, but up to the 2nd century AD. You may never ever look at the Sibylline oracles, and having a Bible app that brings you the Sibylline oracles, probably not something you need to spend money on. But so bringing up those kind of advanced tools may not be of any help to you when you're trying to follow what we're doing. Helps us maybe to expand on what we're talking about, but being able to look at a mobile device and follow along and share from that just, again, helps us, I think, stay a little more grounded and not get too far out ahead of the parade here. All right, go back to verse 3 again, and we'll get a running start on the the Mandela verse. Yeah,
I was looking again at, because I'm right now using Bible Hub, and I was trying to find if they had a Greek translation. Anyway, go ahead.
And his delight shall be in the fear of Yahweh. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, in other words, outward appearances, or decide disputes by what his ears hear, reports. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins. Now, verse 6, this is one that kind of went viral a few years ago for reasons. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the lion and the fatted calf together, and a little child shall lead them. So look, the lion will not lie down with the lamb. The lion is eating with the calf, and a little child's out in front.
But there's better alliteration in lion and lamb, and I think
Right.
that's one reason that over the centuries we have just in our heads that it says lion and lamb.
I actually looked this up because there were those who said, didn't the Bible used to say lion and lamb? Somehow somebody went back into the past and changed the Bible.
That's the so-called Mandela Effect.
The Mandela Effect, yeah. So-called because there were, didn't Nelson Mandela already pass away? Why is he still alive? I remember him being deceased or whatever. Someone has gone back in history and changed our timeline. That never happened. That is not a thing. Jesus promised that not one comma or period, jot or tittle would be changed in his word. And
all would be fulfilled.
And all be fulfilled. And if somehow Satan was able to go back in history and change the Bible, then everything we know is up for grabs. And that's, really, is God that weak? No, he is not.
He is not.
No, the wolf has always dwelt with the lamb, and the leopard lies down with the young goat. Mm-hmm. I looked it up. It's because it was in the Anglican Book of Prayer.
Oh.
The Anglicans put that in their Book of Prayer, and it became
King Edward VI. He was the one who demanded it be written that way.
Yes. And that's the reason it got ingrained in our heads, the lion shall lie down with the lamb. Mm-hmm. No, that was never in Isaiah. Isaiah never wrote that.
That's really odd because how many of us grew up in a church that had Anglican books of prayer in it? I grew up in a Baptist church.
With the Book of Prayer?
No.
No, okay.
I said, how many of us would have had access to that?
No,
that's how
true.
We learned
Absolutely none. And yet it's become ingrained in our minds that the lion shall lie down with the lamb. Because you're right, I think the alliteration and the visual imagery of a lion lying down with this helpless little lamb.
Or a wolf.
But a wolf is just as, just powerful an image.
You and I, the last time we were at Gilgal Rephaim and walking around, it was not the last time we went, but it was the time before. And it was before your walking ability was constrained.
Yeah.
And you had to just sit and wait for the rest of the tour. You and I were walking around, and we were being followed by jackals.
Yeah, we could hear them in the distance. We didn't see them, but we could hear them. And their jackals' howl is really...
I don't think they were wolves. I think they were jackals. But they sounded kind of like crazed coyotes. Yeah,
coyotes on crack. It's what Aaron Lipkin told us, that those were jackals. Mm-hmm. And then we went from there over to the Hula Valley, which is the valley the Jordan River runs through between Mount Hermon and the Sea of Galilee. And we heard them there, too. Yeah. It's like they were following us.
Mm-hmm. It was very strange. So Derek and I were looking around saying, okay, are these actual physical animals or spiritual?
Yeah, pretty creepy. So anyway, we are looking again prophetically here because, again, all of this, the wolf dwelling with the lamb, leopard lying down with the young goat, and calf and lion and fatted calf, this is all prophetic, talking about the messianic age.
And this is very likely the way it was designed originally. Yeah. That Adam and Eve, there were no predators that fed on the flesh of others. We ate fruit and veggies.
Yeah.
At least Adam and Eve did. Mm-hmm. And it's possible that after they were ejected from Eden, that even then, because it's after the flood that Noah is told that animals would now fear humans, and he could now eat flesh of animals.
Which is not to consume blood, because the life is in the blood.
Exactly.
Right. Verse 7, the cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox.
So, see, they're not predators anymore.
Right. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the adder's den. In other words,
two very poisonous snakes.
yeah, and they're not going to strike. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, Eden. Ezekiel 28, Eden is a mountain. For the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. In that day, the root of Jesse.
Okay, before you go to in that day, let's back up to what you just read in verse 9, as the waters cover the sea. Or it says in the Septuagint, as much water covers the seas. In the new heaven and earth, there is no sea. So either this is simply describing this is how everything covers the earth, just the way water now covers it, or this is the millennial reign.
I would suggest the millennial reign, the millennial reign, because clearly Jesus had already come once, and yet these things, wolves lying down with lambs, has not yet happened.
This is definitely future fulfillment,
right?
And
in that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the peoples, of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious.
Read that again, because that's such a wonderful promise.
In that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the peoples, of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious.
Okay. The root of Jesse, and in Hebrew it's Yishai. We have a good friend named Yishai.
Yes.
The root of Jesse is Yeshua, the Lord. And Jesse, Yishai, the father of David.
Right. Which, of course, Jesus is of his line.
And he that shall arise to rule over the Gentiles. So the root is the root of Jesse, but also the root of the future king. So the root and the future king are the same thing.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder if Paul in Romans 11, writing about the olive tree into which we Gentiles have been grafted to replace the branches that were broken off, the Jews who did not accept Jesus, if that was in his mind, the root of Jesse and that imagery of a tree growing from that root or from the stump.
Yes, exactly. I so agree with that, because you and I we have good friends, the Lipkins. Well, Avi Lipkin is the patriarch of that family.
Yes.
He was born in New York. He's an extraordinary man, brilliant man who speaks 5 languages and just is perceptive about politics, but he also knows his Bible. And that includes the New Testament. He, as well, all of the tour leaders, they all know the New Testament better than most Christians. When Avi's most recent video, you and I watched it, and he records a live video conference every Tuesday, and you can join him if you want to. He was discussing this, and he even referred to the grafted in, and he said he does not believe that Christians are actually Gentiles, because we have been grafted in to that Jewish tree.
That's right. That's right.
He said Christians who are grafted in, we become Jews.
Yeah.
We're not Gentiles. He says that the the Muslims and the Hindus, all of those others that do not believe in Yahweh, Yeshua, and he even says that, who if you believe in Messiah, and you've been grafted in, you're Jewish.
Right. And if you're outside that, those would be the Gentiles.
Outside that, exactly.
Right.
And I thought, you just described the one new man.
The one new man, Ephesians 2. Yeah.
And that's why he has the Bible Block Party.
Yeah.
So Christians, Messianic Jews, and Jews all joined in together to try to bring a sense of order to Israel, to the politics.
Yeah, and to give Christians some representation in the Knesset.
Yeah, he really wants that. And Messianics, he wants that.
Right.
We would consider them Christians, but, I don't think Messianics really see themselves as Christians.
Yeah.
I think they just see themselves as fulfilled Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes. And Avi puts it, Jews hate Christians, Christians hate Jews, and everybody hates the Messianics. And
But
sadly,
it
there's
shouldn't
some
be that
truth to
way.
that. It should not. It should not.
And he wants to bring the Druze in, too.
It would be difficult because you've got a lot of divisions there, just as there are a lot of divisions amongst Christians here in the United States and Christians who reject the Jews because they say, well, you've rejected Jesus. And that historically, sadly, that goes back 1,900 years.
Yeah. Well, Avi's visited over 1,000 churches through the years. And he is convinced that Christians love Israel.
Yeah, he's built a lot of bridges. A friend of ours will tell you about this at the end of the study. One of our tour guides from 2023, Ron Silberman, will be coming to the United States in June. So we'll tell you more about that.
He's a completed Jew.
Yes,
messianic.
he is. In that day, we may only get through one.
It's
I think
such
we're only going to get through one chapter. Yeah. So chapter 12, you're on for next week instead. In that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the peoples, of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious. In that day...
Let me stop again. In the Septuagint, I'm sorry, it's just that it's slightly different, but I love the difference.
Okay.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, and he that shall arise to rule over the Gentiles. In him shall the Gentiles trust, and his rest shall be glorious.
The Hebrew term for glorious can indicate earthly splendor and grandeur, but it also has overtones of divine glory. That's from the Faith Life Study Bible.
That making it clear that Yeshua will arise and rule over the Gentiles as well, even though he is Jewish.
Yes. The title of Joel Richardson's book from a few years back, When a Jew Rules the World. Yeah. That's actually a title that triggers some people.
I'm glad about that.
Yes.
If that makes you want to read the book, then read it.
Yeah, and you know what was interesting about that? He opened up with some of the writings of Martin Luther, and having been a member of the ELCA.
I hadn't realized that he was ELCA.
Well, no, Joel is not ELCA.
Oh, okay.
I was raised.
Sorry.
Partly in the ELCA.
Yeah.
Once we moved out of Chicago, my freshman year of high school, we became members of an ELCA church in the suburbs of Chicago. Had no idea that Martin Luther was so anti-Semitic. Is not really a technically accurate term. He just hated Jews.
He was a product of his culture.
He was a product of his culture. Sadly, his writings were appropriated by the National Socialist Party in the 1930s in Germany to justify their final solution. We're doing God's work because they hate God. Well, no, they don't.
And no, they didn't really.
Yeah.
They weren't Christians in any sense of the term.
No, that party was not. They were occultists. So verse 11, in that day, the Lord, now here it's not all caps, meaning the word is Adonai. In that day, Adonai will extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant of his people. A second time. From Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, from Hamath, and from the coastlands of the sea.
I wonder if this refers to the mid-trib scattering. When the Lord says, and when you see these signs, run.
Well, this would be an already but not yet, because a second time could refer to the first time bringing his people back from Egypt during the Exodus. But future, yes, there was also the regathering that occurred in 1948, I would say. And then a future regathering.
It would be the third.
So this, Ezekiel, in Ezekiel chapter 36 and elsewhere, there's other, as Carl Gallups points out, there are like 50 prophecies of the regathering of Israel. Ezekiel 36, Ezekiel 37, Isaiah 49, a number of places.
May I read it in the Septuagint?
Yeah.
Verse 11 in the Septuagint, and it shall be in that day that the Lord shall again show his hand to be zealous for the remnant that is left of the people, which shall be left by the Assyrians, and that from Egypt, and from the country of Babylon, and from Ethiopia, and from the Elamites, and from the rising of the sun, and out of Arabia. Now, Babylon doesn't exist these days, but we do have those countries that were part of it. Ethiopia does exist. Let's see, Egypt, of course, exists. The Elamites, that's Persia. And parts of, the very southern tip of Iran. The Elam was actually in what we call southern Iran. And
it's kind of on the border.
That's my point. It's on the border.
Northern Persian Gulf, bordering on what is now Iraq and Kuwait.
And from the rising of the sun could actually refer to the very far east.
Yeah.
And out of Arabia.
Yeah, Pathros is Ethiopia. That's why it's translated that way in the Septuagint. Cush, likewise, is Ethiopia. Shinar, Babylon, southern Iraq.
What is so interesting about Ethiopia is that they claim to have the Ark of the Covenant, for one thing, but the first Enoch was based on the discovery of an Ethiopian text.
Yeah.
So Ethiopia has been in the process of preserving old texts for
very ancient Jewish communities in Ethiopia and in Egypt. But what's interesting is that since 1948, you're looking at Assyria, which is northern Iraq, southeastern Turkey, basically the Kurdish regions. Egypt, Pathros, again, Ethiopia, and Cush, Ethiopia, Elam, Persia, Shinar, Iraq, basically, Hamath, northern Syria, coastlands of the sea, which would be western Anatolia, western Turkey. Since 1948, Jewish communities in all of those places have basically been eliminated. You don't have but a tiny, tiny minority left in Iran these days. Most of the Egyptian Jewish community has, made Aliyah. Same with Ethiopia. Same with Iraq. Most of the Iraqi Jews have gone back to, simply because since 1948, they're just not safe in those Muslim nations anymore.
No. And strangely enough, after October 7, and again after the beginning of the Iran War, the present-Iran War, suddenly people are making Aliyah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's dangerous in Israel. I'm going to go back. I want to live there.
Right.
I want to join my people.
And some of these communities, especially when you talk about Elam, the Jews in Iran really didn't start getting out of there until about 1979. And they'd been there since, 586 BC, when Nebuchadnezzar dragged them back to Babylon?
It's interesting that 79 became a pressure cooker for Jewish people. 79 being the revolution in Iran, and suddenly the Shia Muslims took over, and it was no longer safe to be a Jew in Iran.
Okay, I thought you were looking at the number 79 for some...
No, that 1979 became... It was, again, the Lord gathers his people sometimes by putting pressure on them.
Well, clearly, 19th century and the pogroms in Russia and in Europe. Strangely enough, when Napoleon took over after about 1812, he emancipated the Jews who had previously only been allowed to work in certain jobs, and they had to be back inside the walls of their ghettos by sundown or else there was trouble. And then after he was defeated at Waterloo in 1815, all the European nations like, okay, no, you Jews, you're no longer emancipated. You got to go back to the old ways. And that led to a lot of them beginning to look for ways out. But it was really the Russian pogroms that accelerated things. So there have been multiple fulfillments of this, I think. Extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant that remains of his people. But really after 1948, from Assyria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, from Iraq, from Syria.
Yes, but what's interesting in the Septuagint, it doesn't say second time, it just says shall again.
Oh, shall again. Yeah. Septuagint, or the Lexham Septuagint said, it will happen on that day. The Lord will continue to show his hand to be zealous for those of the people who remain, who were left behind by the Assyrians and from Egypt and from Babylon and from Ethiopia. He will raise verse 12, he will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah, the Jews, from the four corners of the earth. He'll raise a signal for the nations that would be goyim, in other words, non-Jews.
Yeah, but standard is in the Septuagint, or signal. This is a military term, isn't it? Am I wrong on that? When you have a standard, it's the flag that you carry?
Depends on how you define that word signal. He will raise a signal flag in the New English translation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's almost military. It's like, hey, here, come gather around the flag.
Yeah. A Faith Life Study Bible commentator just takes it as signal, meaning here's the sign to bring them back, rather than here's the battle flag. But it could mean both. I mean, he's assembling the banished of Israel.
Could be, who knows what, but lift up.
Yeah.
Raising something up. Sort of, I get a picture of a flag or some massive sign in the sky.
But I think as we continue on, I think you're going to find that you are correct, that we're talking more of a military context.
He is the Lord of hosts.
Yeah. Again, I think this is an already but not yet, because we certainly see this in 1948, where the banished of Israel had returned and immediately had to go to war. But we'll also see it again in the future, because Armageddon is the world coming against Israel.
Yeah.
He will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The jealousy of Ephraim shall depart. In other words, no longer the conflict between
North and South
amongst the people of Israel. And those who harass Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not be jealous of Judah, and Judah shall not harass Ephraim. But they shall swoop down on the shoulder of the Philistines in the west.
This says, they shall fly in the ships of the Philistines. I know, in our modern sense, that we have one, but I don't think we're talking planes here, but
no.
Possibly.
Yeah. Huh. And together they shall plunder the people of the east.
This says they shall spoil the sea. Now, if there are ships, maybe that just means it's a navy.
Yeah. Bearing in mind there's about roughly 1,000 to 1,100 years difference between the texts on which the Septuagint Sharon is looking at and the English translation I'm looking at, and the minds of the translators, the Masoretic text preparers may have said, well, okay, this doesn't make any sense anymore. We hate the Philistines, we hate the Edomites and the Moabites. So yeah, they were the traditional enemies. So we'll just, tweak things a little bit here. They shall swoop down on the shoulder of the Philistines in the west, and together they shall plunder the people of the east. Again, these are the traditional enemies of Israel, the Philistines, and then the people in the Transjordan.
Right.
They shall put out their hand against Edom and Moab, and the Ammonites shall obey them. And Yahweh will utterly destroy the tongue of the sea of Egypt, that would be the Red Sea, and will wave his hand over the river, meaning the Euphrates, with his scorching breath. The drying up of the Euphrates prophesied in Revelation.
Is that is that the entire verse 15?
And strike it into 7 channels, and he will lead people across in sandals.
That's really interesting. Well, I'm going to read 14 and 15 in the Septuagint. And they shall fly in the ships of the Philistines. They shall at the same time spoil the sea, and them that come from the east, and Edomiah, Edom, and they shall lay their hands on Moab first, but the children of Ammon shall first obey them. And the Lord shall make desolate the sea of Egypt, and he shall lay his hand on the river with a strong wind, and he shall smite the 7 channels, so that men shall pass through it dry, shod. In other words, you have shoes on your feet.
Right.
I don't think that means drying up the Euphrates here, but possibly, because it just says...
the prophetic...
No, it is prophetic, yes, but I'm not sure it's the Euphrates. It would say the Euphrates, I think, if it meant it.
No. The river is a term that was commonly used in the Bible to refer to the Euphrates.
I understand that. But because it comes right after the Sea of Egypt, and shall lay his hand on the river, that might be the Nile.
Well, the ESV translators add the note, that is, comma, the Euphrates.
Okay, then there you go.
And
I will,
the Net Bible translator.
I will defer. Defer.
Net Bible translators actually say, wave his hand over the Euphrates River to make it clear.
Of course, the net is based on the Masoretic. What does the Lexham English say in the Septuagint?
Lexham English says, well, and he was lay his hand on the river, and they add a note saying the Nile. So,
ha ha! Points for me, at least, sort of.
So it's a tie.
Okay, and now those playing the home game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it would have been nice if they had instead of just saying the river and assuming we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in the original
because like here,
Hebrew,
we say the river, we're talking about, the mighty James River.
Yeah.
Which feeds Table Rock Lake. Typically the river, and I can see why the ESV and the Net Bible translators rendered that. But yes, if you're referring to the Sea of Egypt, which is the Red Sea, and you make logical sense to assume you're still talking about Egypt and the rivers there, and the fact that the Nile does split into a number of different channels.
Yeah, you got it.
As you get into the Nile Delta,
you got it. And to dry up the Nile, that's a big deal.
Except that when you get to verse 16, and it says, "And there will be a highway from Assyria," which would then have to cross over the Euphrates.
Does it say that in the Septuagint?
Does it not?
No, it does not.
Oh.
And there shall be a passage for my people that is left in Egypt.
Okay.
And it shall be to Israel as the day when he came forth out of the land of Egypt.
Interesting. Because verse 16 in the ESV reads, "And there will be a highway from Assyria for the remnant that remains of the people,
yes,
as there was for Israel when they came up from the land of Egypt."
I know.
So that is
I understand that. Again, that's based on the Masoretic text, which was over 1,000 years later.
Correct, yeah.
And of course, in the Septuagint, it goes right into what we would call the next chapter, but it's all part of this chapter. Because it goes, "and in that day."
Mm-hmm.
But that is so often done in the Septuagint. The chapter divisions are different.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. If you type in, in the search engine, you want to go to chapter 12 of the Septuagint, it will take you to chapter 12, and then you'll see in parentheses, it's chapter 11.
Yeah. That's in what the Psalms get confusing that way.
It does, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, bottom line here is that even though there are slight differences between the Septuagint and the ESV, doesn't mean that our modern English Bibles are corrupt and untrustworthy.
No, it's just there are tiny tweaks, and usually that is to sort of reduce the authority of what was known back in the day as the second power in heaven. But when the Christians said, "We know who that is, it's Yeshua HaMashiach," okay.
Yeah, de-emphasize some of that. Yeah, well.
And then put in some explosions where, none existed. Okay, This scene needs a bigger,
we need to plus that up.
Yeah, can we have a secondary character that comes in? Or can we have David come in with some lunch and And Saul goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah, even though he'd been his armor bearer for quite a while. So the bottom line is that this is a prophecy of the restoration of the people of Israel, bringing them back from the nations, a signal to the nations to assemble. And as I think it's in Isaiah 49, because Carl Gallups, we were just
honored.
Yeah, honored to be guests on the Jim Baker show. We went down there just to watch Carl.
Yeah, we did. We love Carl, and we were going to miss him because we couldn't. You had a doctor's appointment, so we couldn't be part of the interview on Skywatch. We were going to be on that panel, but we couldn't be there at all. So we said, well, we'll go down to Morningside and watch you there. Yeah,
and then Jim said, he found out that we were going to be there and said, so we get a call that morning from Mondo de la Vega. Hey, did you bring extra clothes? Can you be on the panel today? So we wound up on the panel.
That happened to you one other time. Mondo you had to borrow a jacket.
Oh, yeah. It was when Ray Gaino was there.
Yeah.
And,
because he wasn't really familiar with Ray, and he thought, well, let's bring Derek up. He knows him. But we were on, well, I don't know how many programs they're going to finally cut out of that. I'd been up since 2 a.m, and I was sitting there. It was about 2 hours past time to take my lunchtime pills, and I'm on gabapentin. If any of you are on gabapentin, you know how you can start to really need that next dose after a while. And plus, I was really tired, and I was just, You said to Mondo, you sent him a text and said Sharon needs to go take her pills. So
I texted from the middle of the desk to the end of the desk.
So anyway, I sat back in the green room for quite a while, and I didn't want to go back out and disrupt anything. So I think you guys were out there for at least another hour. That was another 2 shows.
I think they'll get at least 3 shows out of there, if not 4.
Yeah.
But Carl had made the point that I think it's in Isaiah 49, when the nations will bring the Jews back to the land, and how that really happened in 1948 to a large degree.
Oh my gosh, yes, and that is one of the major plots that has been cooking for a while in the Red Wing Saga, and it will be fulfilled. You'll finally see it starting up in Book 9. We'll see where it's all headed. If you haven't figured that out, the last book takes place in 1948. Major spoiler.
Yeah. And a lot goes on between, and as we learn more about the history of the first half of the 20th century.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of that will be in my book for 2027, which is titled War of the Watchers, Book 2. A lot of things happening behind the scenes. And I know there are a lot of people who will say that, and this is something that we talked a bit about on Jim Baker's program, and we'll talk about when we record the programs for my book, War of the Watchers,
we're
Book
doing
1.
That this upcoming week,
The idea that, well, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more, that really in the Book 2 is Israel, the real Israel, because there have been internet-level memes and ideas that have been propagating for a while that, it was the Rothschilds and it was the Illuminati and it was the Freemasons and so on who brought Israel back together. Even if that's true, and it's not, but even if it's true, it really doesn't matter.
No.
God used Nebuchadnezzar, who destroyed the temple, and God called Nebuchadnezzar my servant. He used King Cyrus, who was a polytheist pagan. He did not become a worshiper of Yahweh. And in fact, historically, we know this from a text that's been recovered from Babylon. When Cyrus sent the Jews back to Jerusalem, he actually was sending the idols of all of the pagans in Mesopotamia back to their patron cities. Each city had a patron god or goddess. Babylon, it was Marduk, and the city of Shuruppak was the sun god Shamash, and the city of Ur was the moon god Sin, and so on. The last king of Babylon, when the Persians were attacking, Nabonidus brought the idols from all of these gods from the cities into Babylon to get the protection of those gods and goddesses. Didn't work. But the people then in those cities who'd had their statues taken thought suddenly their god or goddess was no longer protecting their city. And so Cyrus, being the magnanimous ruler that he was, sent the gods and goddesses back to their cities. So in his mind, he was just sending Yahweh back to Jerusalem.
Yep, so he could, Yahweh wouldn't be mad at him, because when you would take all the gods, you were taking the power of the countries.
Yeah, and also so that the people who worshipped those deities would not be mad at him. Mm-hmm. Cyrus was a politician.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing. But God foresaw it and prophesied it, Isaiah 47, through the prophet Isaiah, as much as 150, 200 years before it happened. Mm-hmm. So it didn't matter what, and he called Cyrus my Moshiach, my Messiah.
My anointed one.
My anointed one. So look, just because God didn't restore Israel the way you or I would have planned, it doesn't mean God didn't do it. So
I think a lot of, we've said this before on PID Radio and other places, that a lot of our charts we have to rewrite them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wrote it down in ink. What am I going to do now? Get a new chart.
White out. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, well, do we want to talk about upcoming events or do the OG report here?
Either way.
Well, let's do the OG report, get that out of the way here.
Okay, you're going to have to listen to this. Fast forward to...
Yeah. The reason we missed Carl Gallups at Skywatch TV earlier this week was during the visit to the neurologist a week ago Friday. So even though that visit went well, mm-hmm. I'm not yet seeing any noticeable improvement from the prednisone they put me on.
There's been none.
Yeah.
There's been. I think the progression has been slowed a lot, but there is no improvement.
No. Now, from what I've read, because I'm about 3 weeks in on that protocol, it's usually in the 3 to 6 week range that you start seeing.
No, you're 6 weeks in. No, 5 weeks in.
Okay, so this is the final week of the second dose.
Yeah, I think we're starting the final week of the 40 milligram dose.
Okay. Well, yeah. Mental note, let them know so they can prescribe the next dose.
Yeah, I'll let you know when we get down to a few more pills.
Right. Anyway, the bottom line is I should be seeing some improvement at this point, and really I'm not. My fingers are still, fingertips about half numb, and starting to notice, numbness now on the, just below the edges of my fingers, on the palms of my hands.
Progressing
it's progressing downwards, and it's making it more difficult for me to type. It's a nuisance. It's not life-threatening or anything.
You're getting really good at speech to text.
Speech to text. I'm learning how to, do basic formatting, how to capitalize, words and things like that. But while there, the nurse practitioner at the neurologist's office ordered some blood work, and that came back last week and showed an abnormal antibody, a protein that is misfolded. It's a monoclonal antibody called IgA lambda.
With a light chain.
Yeah, based on that, the light chain, I always think that, okay, do you pull on it and it turns on the light on the ceiling fan? It's
better than the heavy chain because nobody can lift that.
Gotcha.
The alternate, seriously, is called the heavy chain.
Yeah. Based on that, I was referred to a hematologist-oncologist. And when you hear the, oncology, that refers to cancer. So you see that, it's like, oh, well, I guess we better try to make that appointment as soon as we can then. And the only appointment available before July was this past week. So we grabbed it, went in, saw the hematologist-oncologist. He was not overly concerned. He said the level of this protein in my blood is very low. So it is probably not anything to be concerned about, but he has ordered some additional tests. Some of that additional blood work actually came in yesterday, so he hasn't had a chance to review it yet. Mm-hmm. Don't know if it means anything. He's also ordered a bone marrow biopsy. Mm-hmm. So I've got that to look forward to.
And you also have a wonderful 24-hour urinalysis scheduled.
Right.
So you're enjoying your day today.
2 big plastic jugs. Yeah.
Got the second one just in case, because it is 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you do drink a lot of water.
Try to, maintain hydration. So we'll be collecting those, we'll be running those to a laboratory tomorrow morning. That and the bone marrow biopsy will tell him a little more. But he said he doesn't expect to see anything there that will create any level of concern. He said it would be surprising if something comes up that he doesn't already expect. So we are happy for that, barring any surprise. Mm-hmm. But whatever it is, I mean, it's in the Lord's hands.
It is in the Lord's hands. He's got a plan.
Not what we hope for, then it is, the Lord opening a door for an opportunity.
He's got a plan.
He's got a plan.
I like his plans.
We will find out what all the future holds there. So again, your prayers appreciated. If he is correct in his initial assessment that there's nothing to worry about, we just have to monitor this, then it, of course, doesn't bring us any closer to explaining the neurological symptoms I've got. But
not necessarily. By doing these additional tests, he might come upon some clue.
Right, true.
That gives a better diagnosis or fine-tunes your diagnosis so that the therapeutics could be better targeted.
Correct.
And could bring you a difference.
Yeah.
Improvement.
So anyway, we're zeroing in on things slowly but surely. And so that was the reason we missed Carl this past week. And I got the opportunity to punch off 2 more specialties, hematology and oncology, on the specialist.
I think you get a free one now.
Yeah. Again, forgive my coughing and banging the microphone there. Sorry about that. One of the consequences of this autoimmune thing is the
gravelly voice,
junk on my vocal cords.
Yep. So that's just a thing.
Well, we will see Carl in Ohio.
We will. The Go Therefore conference at Neil Peterson's church.
Yeah,
Harvest Revival Center.
That's just outside Dayton, Ohio, in the Brookville.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I used to call it Brookview.
Brookville, Ohio. It's just northwest of the Dayton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy enough to get to by highway if you fly into Dayton. Unfortunately, no shuttle to any of the hotels in that area, but you can rent a car there at the Dayton airport, which we will be doing.
And we did that last year. And in the past, you've always driven, so last year I drove. And we took back roads and got to the hotel within 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's very close.
It was a nice little road.
Yeah, so great lineup. Besides Carl Gallups, you've got Carl Teikrib.
Oh.
2 of our favorite Carls.
I know.
Yeah. John Haller, Dr. Greg Reed, Tom Hughes, Olivier Melnick, and, of course, Dr. Mike Spalding, who is the organizer of the conference, Mike and Kathy Spalding. And if you can't be there, the streaming video is excellent because Neil Peterson is a tech geek, and so his media team is very, very good. The production values of the video streaming is excellent. You can sign up for one or both, and you can do that at gothereforeconference.com. And then 2 weeks later, we'll be here in our backyards, Springfield, Missouri.
Well, I assume it'll still be, we'll still be here, but who knows? We might actually be in a different location. But
True.
It's still our backyard.
Still drivable distance instead of having to fly. That is the Remnant Rising 2.0 conference, August 7th through 9th. It's at the Oasis Hotel and Convention Center in Springfield, just off Interstate 44 on the north side of Springfield. Just 10 minutes from the Buc-ee's, the new Buc-ee's.
I know, very close to the Buc-ee's, very close to the, the aquarium?
Worlds of Wonder.
Worlds of Wonder. It's an incredible place.
Yeah, voted America's best aquarium like 3 years running now. It is. And we can vouch for it. I've been there, took Mom there, took my sister there. I've taken Mom there twice, actually.
And I think Tom and, not Tom, but Joe and Catherine Horn take their kids there a lot.
Yeah. Oh, it is spectacular.
Yeah.
In fact, our daughter, Nicole, took her mother there because I know it was her mother's, always had a lifelong dream bucket list item to swim with sharks. And they've actually got a tank where you can go down. Of course, you're inside a steel cage.
Sure you are.
But there are sharks down in there. And so you get to actually say that you swam with sharks. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it is. You can touch manta rays. Their stings have been removed, so it's safe. You get to feel the texture of their skin. There's so many things that kids get to do. They're safe.
Yeah.
And it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It
is. It is the kind of thing that they will remember for a very long time. And it's only about 15 minutes from the hotel and convention center.
And less than an hour, you can be to Branson, Missouri, and there are tons of things to go down there. If you want to come, bring the family and stay extra or come early.
Yeah, it is absolutely a wonderful place. The Ozarks in general. I mean, we've loved living here for 11 years.
It's very, very family friendly.
Speakers, Joe Artishorn from Skywatch TV, Tony Merkel, host of The Confessionals, John Pounders, host of Now You See TV, our good friend Vicky Joy Anderson, Jamie Walden, who was in that secret meeting.
Oh, but you know what? It
got blown out of proportion.
It got so blown out of proportion. Yeah. It was a good call, I think.
Yeah.
That was called for a good reason.
Mm-hmm. Dave Hodges, host of the Common Sense Show, Pastor Larry Ragland. We're getting a chance to meet him very soon.
Yeah, who was also in that meeting.
Yes. Josh Tolley, Tracy Tennant, our good friend Kenny C. He'll be bringing us some new merch, the Iron and Myth T-shirts.
I know.
The new design.
We got our T-shirts a couple of days ago, and we should probably take pictures, or at least I'll get a picture of you wearing that. Also, Derek and I, Derek has put a letter through to contact our congressman.
Eric Burleson. Yeah.
Eric Burleson, who was also part of that phone call. He's a friend of Timothy Alberino. Mm-hmm. And Tim, get your own congressman. Don't take ours.
Yeah, get your congressman on the UFO thing.
We should send him a note, Congressman Burleson, a note and say, a lot of the people that are aware of this and who were on that phone call are going to be in Springfield in August.
Exactly.
Why don't you come visit?
Yeah, that would be, yes, actually, it would be very interesting. That's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that.
I know.
Yeah, reach out to his office.
He'll probably say, is Tim going to be there?
Well, no, but I'm pretty sure we can get him on the phone.
We can.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, if you want more information, either for in-person registration, and if you do sign up, we probably should have led with this, save $20 on your in-person registration.
Gilbert 20, we didn't mention it yesterday on PID Radio, but yeah, Gilbert 20 will save you on the registration. It does not save on the streaming.
It's for in-person registration.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, so if you're going to be there in person, you can save $20 by using the promo code Gilbert20 at checkout.
You may have your new book at our book table by
right.
then.
Yeah, the War of the Watchers book 1 should be out in August. I hope we can get it in time for the conferences.
God willing, I might have book 9. We'll see. It's sort of my target date, so pray that I can get that finished.
Well, you've got a lot on your plate, and of course, as we mentioned early on, and we hinted at, we may be relocating between now and then. Our home is on the market, and we do have a contingent contract on the home. And
pray that the wonderful couple, who they are in ministry, they would make excellent use of the barn that you guys helped us to build.
Right.
To refinish. I mean, the structure was there, but you guys helped us to build barn better. Mm-hmm. And this couple will definitely make use of it. They just need to sell their house first. So it just now went on the market.
Yes.
It's a wonderful location. If you have ever wanted to live in Nova Scotia. Yeah,
they're literally...
they're very close to one of the sounds.
The Bay of Fundy.
Yeah, the Bay of Fundy. That's it. So it's a beautiful, we've looked at the property online. It's gorgeous. So if you are interested, let us know. We'll get a link to the listing, and you can talk to them about it. But I think they've already gotten one couple that's interested in their house. So pray that works out. Yeah.
We just need to downsize. The acreage we've got here and the fact that we've got...
We have a 5-bedroom house. We don't need it.
Yeah. And between this and the barn, we got like 3,300 square feet that needs to be watched, maintained, cleaned, et cetera. And that's, I can no longer help with that. So downsizing to a smaller place with no exterior maintenance, no yard work would be a true blessing.
And it's a beautiful location. You guys have seen the pictures we've shared of, sunrises and sunsets. And you've probably heard the Orioles outside discussing things. But if you love birds and bees and all sorts of little critters, it's a great location.
Yeah, and a great place to get beef. Neighbor just up the road's got a small herd of cattle.
We buy from him
clean
at
beef.
Least once a year, sometimes twice, and it's very clean, no hormones, no, it's all, grass-fed, grass-finished.
In fact, a lot of the grass comes off of our property. So happy to make the introduction to our neighbor for you. Anyway, that is all maybe taking place this summer if things go according to our plans. Of course, the Lord has His plans, and our prayer, as always, is that our desires would align with His plans. And who knows?
Not race ahead of the shepherd.
Exactly. Yeah. Lord, we know what direction you're taking this parade. We'll just jump right out in front here. And suddenly you realize you're walking down the road alone.
Yeah, don't want that. But we are still going to Israel in October as of today. So if you are interested, go to gilberthouse.org/travel. All the information is there. If for some reason, and we'll find that out in the next few weeks, if for some reason we need to reschedule, we will let you know the new dates. And if you can't go, then you get... I think they keep the deposit, but you get everything else back. Right,
yeah. The deposit's just $300, and that's because they need a commitment when they start contacting hotels to book blocks of rooms. They need to have some kind of assurance that the people who've committed are actually committed. Yeah. So that is that. But if you put in additional money above and beyond the deposit and then can no longer accommodate new dates, that will be refunded to you.
Absolutely.
And it is beginning to look like October is going to be a go. I know that the Prophecy Watchers tour scheduled for March has been rescheduled to start just after ours concludes.
And there's someone else who's leading a tour in October, and I can't think who it is, but I do know that Aaron Lipkin and his friend, the
Preacher and the Teacher.
Yes, the Preacher and the Teacher tour. That might be in October as well.
I think you're right. I think that's early October, just prior to ours. So it is beginning to look as though the tourism industry in Israel thinks that October will be safe and secure. And we are, in fact, planning the optional 3-day extension over to Jordan.
Who is it that's going through Lipkin tours for Israel, Turkey?
Good friend of ours, Mark Warren, who was with us on our tour in 2023.
That's right.
He was such a help on that third bus.
He was a huge help, just a wonderful man.
Right, and he will be going with Ali Siadatan, who's been a frequent guest on A View from the Bunker. So they'll be going to Israel and...
is it Crete?
Crete and Turkey.
Yep.
And we're like, oh man.
I wish I could go.
Can we clone ourselves? No, clones wouldn't be ready in time. Well, so more information on our tour, gilberthouse.org/travel. And
but one more thing, if you guys will follow us on Substack,
yes,
you can subscribe for no cost. You know, most of Substack content providers require that you pay something in order to get the entire post. We don't. If you want to, donate, that's fine.
Yeah. But they
don't call it a donation, but if you want to pay a subscription, that's to you. But we don't charge.
Right. Gilberthouse.substack.com and Sharon's Substack, Sharon K, letter K, Gilbert.substack.com.
I am putting the next Blood Lies chapter up today, and I'm also going to put the first chapter of Winds of Evil up today.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so going back to 2000.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I republished the books, so, or we did, rather.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give content away because that's what the Lord is calling us to do.
Yeah. So follow those. You find the links to those, by the way, in the study notes below this program, whether you're watching or listening. The links are there. Excuse me. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? It was something like that. It was, A View from the Bunker tonight.
Oh, yes.
Ron Silberman.
Of course.
Yeah. Ron was one of our tour guides in 2023, coming to the U.S. in June. He'll be here. And in fact, we managed to talk Joe Horn into bringing Ron onto Skywatch TV.
And he's going to be very happy he did when he meets Ron and hears his story.
Ron is a messianic Jew, a completed Jew, I guess, or however they would prefer to consider themselves.
I think he calls himself messianic.
Yeah. But he's got a wonderful testimony. He didn't get into that in the program tonight, but we talked mainly about anti-Semitism and the church's role in anti-Semitism, Jew hatred. Ron explains why he prefers that term because it's more accurate.
Yes, there are a lot of Semites that aren't Jews.
Arabs are Semites. and many of them are Muslim. So Jew hatred, which really began in the church in the 2nd century and has only, well, it's never gone away, and it has gotten worse since October 7th of 2023. So Ron talks about that and what the church can do to confront that. That's what he'll be speaking on. He's looking for churches at which to speak while he's here. And he's going to be in the Ozarks beginning in early June. He will be speaking in Oklahoma, Bartlesville. I know he's got one church to speak at.
He's looking for churches in the Dallas
area, Oklahoma City, Joplin, Springfield, any of those communities. He might even be able to make a side trip to, say, in fact, I know he's going down to the Little Rock area. He's speaking at a church in Heber Springs, which is about 60 miles north of Little Rock.
Oh, you should tell our friends at Victory Television.
Yes, in fact, I will. In fact, I told Ron I would, and then I forgot to do it. So I will reach out to our friend Jim Grant, who's the general manager there at VTN, and say, hey, look, I know a guy. But we've also done that with Prophecy Watchers, because Ron was scheduled to lead that Prophecy Watchers tour that got canceled.
That got rescheduled.
Rescheduled, yes. So Ron is very knowledgeable about Israel, because you have to be a tour guide. They test you on botany, geology, geography, archaeology, history, all that stuff. But again, his focus will be on Jew hatred in the church, and as one who sees both sides of this divide.
He does.
He's got a very unique perspective, and especially as one who lives in Israel. And he can also speak to life as a Christian in Israel. No, Christians are not routinely spit on in Israel, contrary to what you may have seen on the internet. That does not happen. So anyway, if you're interested, you can reach out to us, info@gilberthouse.org, if you want Ron's contact information. Or you can look him up on Facebook, and it's R-A-N, Ron Silberman, S-I-L-B as in boy, E-R-M-A-N, Ron Silberman. He's a reporter for All Israel News, focusing on archaeology in the Bible.
Yeah, Joel Rosenberg's
news outlet, yeah. So that'll be tonight on A View from the Bunker. That'll be released at 7 p.m. Central Time. So,
boy, one chapter, we really went into it, but, we have no blather control.
That is correct.
You get to be our age, and you just don't have it.
And there is somebody out there who's been following our studies, and God bless him, going through the YouTube videos and putting time codes on, say, thank you, Gilbert's study begins at 5 minutes and 38 seconds.
God bless you for that.
So if you want to skip past the blather on YouTube, you can just click right on that.
And you won't hurt our feelings at all.
No, not at all. But anyway, again, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you, and thank you, sweetheart. I love you.
Until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and the Lord loves you so very much, as do we. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. We post a new Bible study each Sunday morning. Subscribe to the podcast and explore the archives online at gilberthouse.org.